Alright, time for the solutions for the use coordinates to transform figures assignment. So, start out by writing down all the coordinates of the points. I'm going to start with n. N's coordinates are at 1, negative 2. X coordinates are at 4, 0. And then G coordinate, let's not go, let's do R's. R is at 4, negative 3. And then G is going to be at 0, 4. So make sure you list all those down. Next, look at your function and describe what it does using words. So I know xy is going to x negative y, so the x's stay the same. And then the y's are changing the sign. That's what the little negative in front says to do. Y's change sign. And then that's it for that one. Use what are the coordinates going to be for the transformed points? So we're going to actually do the transformation. N prime, keep x the same, change the sign on y, gives you 1, 2. X prime, keep x the same, change the sign on 0. Well, that's still just going to be 0. Keep x the same on r, and change the sign on y, so that's going to be positive 3. And then on g, you're going to keep x the same, so it's still going to be 0, and change the sign on that 4 to give you a negative 4. So now we need to graph it, and then describe what the transformation is. So I'm going to graph these points here. We got G prime, N prime is there. So there's N prime. X prime is actually the same spot, and R prime is right above it. Connect that up, and we have that same figure. It looks like it's just been reflected over the y-axis, that line there in the middle. So this is the reflect over the y-axis transformation. So there you go. So there's the first section, first transformation. Moving on to the next one, where the coordinates for my vertices, just take it one at a time. I'm looking at A. A is at negative 2, 5. L is at negative 3, 1. F is at 0, 2. And then C is at 1, 5. What does my function do? Well, it takes the x's and the y's, and it's adding to the x's and subtracting 5 from the y's. So I can just write that out using those exact words. Whoops. Here, add 2 to the x's. Subtract 5 from the y's. And you get that figure. So now we're actually going to do that. You're going to take your coordinates, add 2 to the x's, so negative 2 plus 2 is going to give me 0 for the x's, and subtract 5 from the y's, it's going to give me 0 for both of the coordinates on A prime. L prime, you're going to get negative 1, negative 4. Add 2 to the x, subtract 5 from the y. F prime, add 2 to the x, gives me 2. Subtract 5 from the y, you'll get negative 3. And then C prime, you're going to add 2 to the x, gives you 3. And then subtract 5 from the y is going to be 0. So those are my new points. I'm going to graph those on here. That'll give me A prime right there. C is going to be at 3, 0. Oops. There's C prime. L prime is at negative 1, negative 4. Is right there. And then F is at 2, negative 3. So there's F prime. Connect that up. And it's the same figure, it's just been translated to the right 2 and down 5. And so that's what you write down here. Translation, right 2 units, down 5 units. There you go. Moves us on to the next transformation. We have to get the coordinates. Let's just start with L. L is at 3, 4. Z is at 4, 5. And N is at 5, 2. So there are my coordinates. What does the function do? Let's see, xy goes to negative x, negative y. So that's just changing the sign on the x's and on the y's. Sheesh, I think I could write things. Change the signs on the x's and y's. What are the coordinates going to be for the transform units? Well, L prime, you're just going to use the exact same numbers. You need to change the signs. So I get negative 3, negative 4. Z prime, we're going to get negative 4, negative 5. And then on N prime, we're going to get negative 5, negative 2. So you do all that, you're going to get, negative 5, negative 2. So this is moving on to 12, graph this. There's my N prime, negative 3, negative 4. There's my L prime. And then Z is at negative 4, negative 5. Whoops. Negative 4. Whoops. Jeez. L prime. Negative 4, negative 5 puts Z prime right there. Connect that up. And ta-da! You got the new figure. And that transformation is taking this figure and rotating it 180 degrees around the origin. So that's what you put down. There we go. And that brings us to the next section here. We have this figure, again, write down the coordinates. V is at negative 1, 0. R is at negative 1, negative 1. F is at 3, negative 3. And then I is at 4, 1. So those are my coordinates. What does the function do? Well, it takes the x and a y, and it's switching it to be negative y, x. So you're switching x and y. And then change the sign on old y. Okay, designate whether it's the old y or the new y. Alright, so that's what that one does. Where the coordinates going to be, well, you just take that rule, that what's going on here, and do that to the point. So v prime, change the order, change the sign on the old y. That's going to just give me 0, negative 1. R prime, switch the order, gives you negative 1, negative 1. And I'll even write that down for you, negative 1. But we need to change the sign on that one. It's going to be positive 1, negative 1. F prime, we need to change the order, so negative 3, 3, and change the sign on the old y, or the new x. Here, I'll write that down, new x. Gives me the F prime there, and then I prime, change the order, change the sign on the new x value, or the old y value. And it gives you that. And now we just have to graph those and say which transformation was done. V is going to be at 0, negative 1. Oops. So there's my V prime. I'm going to put that in here. R is at 1, negative 1. There's that one. F is at 3, 3. Or F prime, sorry. And then I prime is going to be at negative 1, 4. There's I prime. Now we can draw the figure. And it's that same figure, but it's been rotated 90 degrees. So that's a rotation 90 degrees. And that one is counterclockwise. And there's that section. And on to our last one, where the coordinates J is currently at negative 4, negative 1. And G is at negative 3, negative 4. And it's looking like that last one there is L. L is at 0, 0. That'll make it pretty easy. This one, what's the function do? XY goes to Y, negative X. So that's the same thing as the last one, but we're not changing the value on the old Y or new X. We're changing the value on the old X or new Y. So let's write that down. So switch order and sign. Here, switch. Here, let's write this. So switch X and Y. Then switch the sign on old X slash new Y. Okay, so that's what this function is telling you to do. Change the order and change the sign on the old X or the new Y. So if we do that on all these points, J, switch the J prime, we need to switch the order, negative 1, negative 4, and change the sign on the old X or new Y, going to give me positive 4. G, switch the order, negative 4, negative 3. Change the sign on the old X or new Y, gives you negative 4, positive 3, and then L prime is going to be just 0, 0 still, because the opposite sign is 0, 0. Excellent, so now we got all of this. L is going to be in the same spot, so there's L prime. J prime is going to be at negative 1, positive 4. So there's my J prime. And then G prime is going to be at negative 4, positive 3. So there's G prime. Got that all together. Ta-da! And we have our figure graphed. And that is a rotation. So that's actually a 90-degree clockwise rotation. And that brings us to our last section. Our coordinates on this one, I'm going to start with A, which is that one, by the way. The coordinates for A are negative 5, 0. The coordinates for S are negative 2, 0. The coordinates for J are negative 3, negative 3. That's a hideous 3. And the last one, C, is at 0, negative 4. What does the function do? Well, it's looking like xy goes to x, negative y plus negative 4. So we're going to just start with x's stay the same. So x's stay the same. Switch the sign on y and add negative 4. So that'll give you the new y value there. So let's actually do that to these coordinates. A prime, x is going to stay the same. Change the sign on the 0, add negative 4. 0 plus negative 4 is negative 4. S prime, keep x the same. And then that one's going to have this similar new y coordinate there, because it started out the same as A. J prime, negative 3 stays the same. We're going to switch the sign on this 3, to make it positive 3, and then add negative 4. That would give you negative 1. And then finally C prime. 0 stays the same. Change the sign on the negative 4 to make it positive. Then add negative 4 is going to make it 0. And so if I graph these now, I'm going to get C prime there. J prime. Oh, no, that's not C prime. C prime is up here. So there's C prime. And then J is going to be negative 3 and negative 1. So there's J prime. S prime is going to be at negative 2, negative 4. So there's S prime, and then A prime is going to be at negative 5, negative 4. So there's A prime. Now I have my figure all drawn out. So like it's the same one, but it's been flipped over in the middle, which is this line right there, right here in the middle, which is the line y equals negative 2. So that is a reflection. That is reflect over y equals negative 2. And that's it.